Yes. Hello, everybody out there in podcast land. This is Tammy, Texas Desert Rose here. And you know, I'm going to say it, another esteemed guest to interview who is going to rock your world. You're going to listen to this a few times just to try to catch up with her brain speed. Just saying. And it's early in the morning there for you, isn't it, Sherry?
It is. It is.
Very early.
It was questionable whether I was going to make it or not, but I did it. We're
Ro,
all
you
good.
so made it, and you're looking a lot brighter than this person over here in Central Time here. But Sherry has so graciously agreed to come on and have a conversation with me, and we're just kind of pretending like we're just doing one more coffee meeting, like we did for a whole year out in Japan. And as you know, Sherry, I made and the rest of the world who's listening, when you do listen. I made the big decision to come back to the US, i.e., Texas, a year ago, beginning of June. And here we are, what, the end of July. And so it's been, what, 14 months. It's unbelievable. And it was a big decision for family reasons. And it was just time to, as you've heard me say a few times, Sherry, to go back into, what is it called? Noah, no. Jonah and the whale, Nineveh. It was time for me to go into my Nineveh. And I didn't think I would stay very long, but it has turned out that West Texas has kind of been a big surprise for me. And I've been able to kind of fly my freak flag when I want to and kind of go into my conservative roots when I need to and do my singing and all that stuff. So it's been a nice surprise. All that to say that Sherry, you relate to that a little bit, I would imagine. West Texas, that is.
Uh, Somewhat. So one of the backup, I think let me give your viewers a background. So this is my very first podcast, right? So my
You'll
whole
never
dream,
guess this, people, by the way. Okay.
my dream in the whole wide world is to do my own interview show too, right? So this is my
Incoming.
stepping off. So in the profession that Tammy and I are in, basically we are professional interviewers, right? So, um,
Virtual interviewers. That means I got
but
to be
but
good at
but
this.
but it's mostly work, and no, work isn't fun. Work's the opposite of fun, right? So, so I'm very happy to be here to do this with you. And the best part about it is that you and I have a real good relationship in general. So really, it will be like somebody walking by our office and listening to us talk. Um, Let me tell you the first time, my first memory of you. We
Good
were
Lord.
we were getting ready to get some paperwork out of the way at our place, and there was other people around us first day of work, and I hear this woman say, start singing. It's just beautiful voice, and then our boss kind of is joining in with her, and then she stops singing and she says, I'm just so shy. And I couldn't even help myself. And I said, you cannot claim to be shy after you just did an impromptu concert in the middle of a bunch of
I
strangers. And
do
she was
not
like,
remember that. Do you know what I was singing?
no, it was just something random. Then you were just had this big grin and you were smiling and then trying to tell everybody you were shy. And I was like, you ain't gonna convince me that you're shy. But I was like, I think this is gonna be my partner. In fact, I had even Googled you before we met because I was like, please, baby Jesus, don't let my partner be crazy.
6.5, well, 5, Jesus.
But then when I met you, I was like, she's crazy, but the good crazy that matches my crazy, so it's gonna be fine. We're gonna
Our
have a good
crazies worked well together, and I think they
They
still do.
did. They sure did.
Well, you know, two Leo risings, and you're a Leo sun, so you're a double Leo. And a lot of the people listening to this are going to know exactly what that means. Usually, we wouldn't go together, and I think we go together very well. Like
First of all,
you,
Tammy, we're not together. Let's make that
we
clear. We're not.
okay, okay. You've had to say that a few times. We are not together.
Oh, poor Tammy.
I
We
don't
would both
want to
make
make
this.
somebody mad at me out there who's
No, no one. We're not. She's perfectly fine. I am not trying. I'm not her person. She's not my person. I'm. unpleasantly single, but I don't know her status, but she's not mine. So y'all,
What
you're
are
welcome.
you talking about? I would like to guarantee that we're going to get it together from here, you guys, but I don't want you to
No,
sue me for lying, you
no.
know? Oh my goodness, I love it. And
So
I love
first
how your
impression,
Southern accent comes out whenever
and
we
I'm
start
not even
talking.
drunk. It gets real bad when I'm drunk. But if I was drinking, like this is coffee in my red cup, right? So, but if this was alcohol,
Red
the Southern
Solo
accent
cup.
would get worse, and I would start doing this because my vision gets worse as I drink, especially the right eye. So if I start drinking, then you're
She can
like,
still
I know what's in her
analyze
cup.
which eye, guys. She can't be that drunk.
Yeah. So if I my eyes are drooping, you're like, I know what's in that cup, but right now
Yeah.
I'm fine.
Oh my gosh.
Okay,
So
back to Leos. So yes,
back to
I am all the Leo
Leos.
you could ever want and more.
Yes. Yes, she's a double dip. A double Leo is beautiful. Now, let me just go off on that just a little bit.
Okay,
There's
ready.
this persona and there's this perception that Leos are bigger than life. And from watching us, you would certainly think so. But actually, the opposite is true. We're meant to be bigger than life, but we spend a lifetime, usually up until after our 40s, giving ourselves permission to allow ourselves to shine. So a lot of the walk is shine, okay, back up, you're getting too much attention. But it's the back and forth of struggle with it, be in the limelight where you feel the most joy, and then, at least in your way, your limelight comfort is different from mine, but we all know what that is in ourselves, but it's giving yourself permission. And I just finished my second Saturn return, which you guys out there is 58 to 60, usually. And I'm 58 and a half. And I've just finished mine, and it's a couple of years transit. It's not easy, but now I'm like, let it rain. I'm going to shine. And that happens about that age that you give yourself permission. So I don't know if any of that made sense, Sherry.
To be quite honest and quite fair, the person that's taught me the most about all this is you, and I'm here for it. Like I'm all about. I don't know everything, and that's okay. I in most things when I'm learning about something, I absorb it and I take what I need, and if I don't
Yeah.
need it, it falls away. But also at my age, a lot of it falls away because of cognitive decline.
Or the
Um,
high intelligence, you hold on to what you need and let go of the rest.
but
See what I
I
did
like that.
there?
Peak reframing. It's a good therapist right there. I what I know about Leos, to go what you're saying, um, I've heard an either or, and sometimes people feel like that's charlatan, like you're just saying things, and if people latch onto it, then you're like, yeah, see, I knew. But it is true. So with Leos in general, my understanding is that they can be very arrogant. Check, I can be very arrogant, but the difference is that I do say this in all truth. I don't do it at the expense of someone else. Like my entire motivation of who I am as a person, truly, I try my best to say this with all honesty, is to be a helper. Um, and something else that I read that really resonated with me is that Leos are most happy when those they love are having a good time and when
Sure.
they're happy.
You're an
So
entertainer for sure.
yeah, but for people that I'm comfortable with, the different one difference between Tammy and I, you put us into a room of strangers, she will talk to everybody. I will hiss in the corner like a vampire. Like I don't like strangers. But you put me in front of an audience where I know my business and I know what I'm doing and I know what I'm talking about, and I'm fine. It really is a skill that I learned over time. It was not something I was interested in doing. As a certainly that's not part of my profession. But I do enjoy meeting people more so now. And I think when I met you,
Mhm.
I was at a point in my life, in my own spiritual journey where I was like, I have got to do better at meeting people because I was in a big giant transition of my own. I can't
I do
say
remember
why.
that. And I think
Um,
you were still kind of like healing from a lot of wounds, a few wounds, if you don't
but
mind me
it's so
saying.
much better. No, I don't.
So
I mean, I
much.
think that I'm as good or better than I have been in a very long time. I don't. I don't subscribe to the whole, oh, it all, God has a reason it all works out bullshit. I had some shit. We all have had shit. And I think we should recognize it and understand
Yeah,
that, healing comes different ways for different people.
absolutely.
Um, Mine was very cognitive and it was also intentional because if I don't, and I do believe this for myself and everyone, if you don't like the way something is, the good news is that you have the ability to change it. Now, there are still some things I could work on and am working on, but as far as
Always.
healing, I am certainly much better than I have been in previous years.
I don't think when I met you, which was August or September of 2023, I think. I don't know that you would have come on something like this. Um, so, and maybe I'm wrong,
When
but
you say something like this, you mean like talking to a bunch of strangers on camera? Or are you talking about more like
just
the
being
perspective that you have about astrology and stuff?
and doing here we are doing an expose and kind of we don't even have a plan. And I love this. My Myers-Briggs P is thrilled to be able to just free flow it, because you and I have a comfortability. I wouldn't do this with just anybody,
Mhm.
where we know that if you give us an hour, we'll talk. If you give us 3 hours, we'll talk. And
Mhm.
there's a comfort with that
Mhm.
about real stuff. And so, yeah, so I started out talking about moving back to the US and all the angst, and you were there for me to help me talk through that. And I remember me going, what if, what if, what if? And you're like, if you don't like it, you can change it. You can always come back.
Yeah,
And
and you
then
know what?
you'd always lower
And
your
thankfully
voice
for you and I, we are in a position that not a lot of people are, right? And
right
am grateful for that every single day.
every day.
So there's a lot we have a lot of independence financially, educationally, professionally that not everyone has. And so
Right.
that may not be everyone's story or ability, but that is true. Yeah. And I think I would also say the reason why we were able to have those discussions is because um you rapport has to be built in any type of relationship. So whether it's a therapy relationship or a friendship relationship, right? And so when I said, "Please, baby Jesus, don't let her be crazy," that was legitimate prayer, right? It has to be. You have to build a trust with somebody. Same thing with being a parent. You can't just expect your kid to come to you and be honest and truthful as a teenager when your role is an authoritarian parent. They're not, why would I come and tell you anything if I'm going to get in trouble about it, right? If we don't have that trust relationship, that love relationship to build on. And so, had we not had previous discussions about everything and nothing before that, I don't think we would have had that been able to have that discussion about, your vulnerability about feeling like, what do I do if I go home and I'm right there with you? In fact, that's why I'm not home. And I say home, the United States. When people ask me, where are you from? I have a hard time answering that for a couple of reasons. One, I moved around a lot my entire life,
Yeah.
and I've lived chunks of time in different places.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I say, what does that mean? Does that mean where you're born? Well, I was born in one place and lived there for less than a year. So does that mean that's
Right.
where I'm from? Or is it like, where's your family from? Okay, well, I can tell you where my parents were born. I can tell you where we lived as a family. But again, I still don't know how to answer that. But in normal context, I don't like to say that I'm from any one place because in the United States, because I'm so mad at the United States, but that I digress. But
Is it
but I
though?
can't say in the accent that you hear, the majority of my life was in southern states. So it's a amalgamation of a lot of southern accents.
Well, and not just Southern. I mean, I know you didn't just exist in one place, but you know, you at least were born in West Texas, which is by far the most conservative, I think, in the United States, for sure in Texas. And it's pretty conservative anyway. And so I would imagine that it's a whole different life because I think both you and I both exude don't put me in a box.
Don't tell me what to do.
You're not the boss of me. Yep.
But you know what, ironically about that, Tammy, I don't know about you, but I attribute to that to my mothers and my grandmothers being from Texas.
Amen.
right?
especially my
So
paternal grandmother. Woo!
right. So, in order to survive in past generations, you had to be made of some stern stuff. If to build a crop in West Texas, you had to find something that was going to be sturdy. And if you were going to grow it, you had to be sturdy in order to pull something from the ground. And not have your own finances and be in charge of your children and be in charge of your husband's emotional well-being because, he's still a man. So it, there's something to be said for that. I mean, there's a little almost like a Darwinism quality about that, like survival of the fittest. And I don't mean that to a slight anyone,
Well, that's biologically sound. There's no question
but
about it.
anyone who has grandmothers from Texas, regardless of their personality, would say, "Oh yeah, my granny or my mom or my aunts for sure." Like there's a steel spine that comes through the DNA of women who are from Texas. That's for
The
sure.
survival, what is it? What's it called? The genetic memory, the something memory.
Oh yeah, yeah, I would agree with that.
I mean, like it's
We
there.
learned about it in Women Who Run with Wolves.
Ah, we learned a lot of things. I should have worn my shirt. Um, yeah, so I was looking up, cheated. I was looking up your chart and looking for the Uranus because Uranus is where we cannot be told what to do.
Tammy,
I
I don't
did.
know if you know that.
I was peeking. You Googled me. I can chart you.
That's true. That's your type of Google. I forget. Okay.
That's my Google. That tells me everything. It tells me your fingerprint of when you were born. And
Okay.
just a little known fact, your Uranus is in the third house, and my Uranus is in the second house. And what that means is your Uranus is don't tell me what to say, I'll say what I damn well please. And my Uranus is don't try to be my boss because I need to be the boss of me. Well, you're
Oh, for
also
sure.
that.
Nobody's gonna be Tammy's boss. She doesn't like a boss. She is a mogul and she's gonna run her own business and nobody's gonna tell her what to do. And I love her
A
for it.
mogul. A mogul. What'd you call me? But I don't need to run anybody else's country. I just don't want
No, for
anybody to run
sure.
mine.
I love that
You
about
know?
you. For sure. And I do say my piece, but I guess this is a difference in my Leo than maybe others. Like I'm not body and I'm not extroverted. So and I think you probably nailed this on the head a while back, is that it's when I am very passionate about something,
Yep.
that motherfucker comes out quick. Like I
Yep.
don't pick on people that can't stick up for themselves. Don't take religion and beat people up with it for your
Yes.
benefit. I get real quick. Even think about it now makes me mad. And same for me. Like, so when you're talking about like when you learn your voice, that took a while. Socialization and programming is that, you women need to always make comfortable their elders or the man
Yes.
in the room or the boss in the room. And that took me a long time to learn that I don't have to diminish myself for anyone's comfort. That's not the same thing as being an asshole. That's not the same thing.
No.
It's kind of what you're saying. Live your You're going to be your boss of your life, and that's the same with me. I'm going to Here's my space, and it's going to be permeable, and I'm going to move and I'm going to learn, and I to make someone else just to make someone else comfortable, I'm not okay restricting myself. And I will say it. And I think I'm a better writer than I am a better speaker. So oftentimes it comes, as one of my bosses told me before, in a heavily toned email or letter. I like to write those.
Yeah, I think you're pretty amazing at both, to be honest with you. But you're right. You really paint a picture in the writing. In fact, um, the placements in your second and third house say that you will absolutely write and make money at it, in whatever
Oh,
form you
I need to
choose.
get busy.
It's quite an ability, like the way you express yourself. And so another difference with us, even though we all have bits of introversion and extroversion both, is that you need your space and you need to be able to go in your head and process and get things straight. And then when you're
100.
done, you'll come out and you'll be bigger than life with the social thing. And I would imagine it probably people in your life have been until they learn you, it's a little bit confusing Just
Oh,
like
for
with
sure.
mine, I'm very extroverted, but man, once I go inside, I have to go do my shutdown. It's just not as probably as long as someone who's introverted.
Oh, you know, I can see that. I can see that about you. And you're right. It would be head shakingly frustrating because you are always, you know, a great showman and a great
Showman.
leader, right? And so when you do get quiet, it's like the light bulbs are turned off. Whereas I am always, most of the time, processing multiple things in my head. And I think that's why, so, one of the reasons why people think that I am unapproachable. But it has nothing, it may have zero things to do what's in front of me. I might be 15 other places thinking about something and just chewing on it and chewing on it and chewing on it until I can formulate an understanding of it. I don't,
Yes.
I believe in, you know, I've got a continual desire to learn and knowledge. Um, and so if I don't understand something, that's where I get, I don't want to say stuck, but that's where I'm often at. If I don't understand something, especially my own feelings, and I could tell you that didn't happen until mid 30s and 40s, being able to articulate feelings. And I don't think that's unusual. I think a lot of people have that issue. Which brings
Absolutely.
me back to our profession. Y'all, we got to do better with teaching our kids how to voice their feelings and emotions. But here's what cracks me up is that adults, if we're not any good at it, why are we mad at kids when they can't do it for us either? So we all need to get better at that. Sidebar. Okay, go
Well,
ahead.
I don't know that it is a sidebar. I think it is exactly, I mean, just a little bit of a extra definition. I don't know if we said that you and I have spent many, many years working and currently working with children,
Mm.
children all the way up through teens and young adult. And you're right. What I have noticed is a lot of the adults that work with them and parents, but I deal with more of the, some of the ones that work with them. They're dealing through their own dealt with trauma.
Yeah,
And I'm not trying to blame it on trauma, but I see trauma all over the place.
yeah,
The shaming statements, and literally the person doesn't realize they're doing the shaming statements.
yeah.
And so a lot of my job, I feel like, is helping the adult to understand and doing it in a way gingerly so that I'm not stepping on their toes because that's not going to get the result that I want. And
You know,
ultimately, it's paying the
I
price.
think I'm gonna tell a secret about our profession. I might get my counselor card taken away, but I'm gonna tell you a secret. We counselors, therapists, whatever you want to call us, we don't know everything. I know, it just blew your mind, right? Also, we can't read your mind. So what makes a good therapist is somebody who can sit with you as you process through all those things. And sometimes the answer doesn't come. Sometimes it's holding a mirror, sometimes it's have you thought about or celebrating with you with accomplishments. But one of my early questions, brand new therapist. By the way, Tammy, how long have you been a counselor? I don't remember.
Got licensed in 98. So
Wow.
what is
Okay.
that? Almost 30 years. So
Wow.
27. I
So
know.
I was thinking about this before I got on the call with you. I became started my career 25 years ago this month. My
Congratulations.
I've been licensed for 22 and a half, but I count being an intern part of that because I certainly was doing the work. Um, but I think that one of the things that comes to mind is the why we do it is kind of like what makes a good therapist, right? So this is not a field where you're going to get a lot of accolades. In fact, oftentimes it's a thankless job.
A lot,
And
often we are the mirror. I mean, like we get
and
projected
yes,
onto
and guess
us.
what? Sometimes we have our own cracks. How many times over the course of my life have I thought to myself, you know, I'm going through a really hard thing and but I still have to pay the bills and I still have to go to work and you know, to your point earlier, like sometimes I feel like that we're all a bundle of hurts. And so, what constitutes healing is being able to articulate them and process them. And process means different things for different people. But by definition, means that when you think about it or when it comes up, it's no longer a giant festering bruise or wound. Like You see
Mhm.
it, I feel it, and I can keep going, and I'm not stuck there, right? And that, so it's not that I or you know everything or the answers for anyone who may come to us for work. It's I will sit with you. I will talk with you. I will tell you how other people have worked on this, but I am not the expert of your life. I don't even know that I'm an expert in my life at this point. I'm better than probably better. I hope so at 52. Jesus Christ. But
Just a
I think
baby.
I think with what you were saying earlier is that everybody's walking around with trauma. That's what made me think about this is like it's not that we're without our own issues and our own like why you went home, right? Part of it was to reconnect and to establish some um, personal goals that you had for whatever family included. So it wasn't like you
Fruit.
were without concerns or worries or the discussions of Sherry, should I do this? And I'm like, I don't know, girl, because I don't want to go home either. Like so,
Yeah.
and so I think one of the thoughts is, what makes a relationship one that you want to continue, whether it's a professional one, whether it's a family one, whether it's a friendship.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I
and
think that um, the ability to sit with someone in their pain and not run, I'm finding that that is very rare. No diss to
absolutely.
our culture, much respect, but to sit with someone there in their pain, the lack of connection, and I don't know if people realize they're not doing that. It's a whites of the eyes showing after so many things happening and so many people coming at each other. Now I notice that people don't even have eye contact. So someone out there might be thinking, why am I going to get a therapist if they're not going to tell me what to do?
Mm,
Well, that's not, it's to sit with you in whatever you're going through and for you to know that you're not alone
yeah.
and that when you
And
leave, we're not taking it on.
right. And there's I think one of the big attractions, and I say this Generation Z and Alpha. I don't I'm just making an observational guess, right?
Mhm.
One of the attractions for an AI as your therapist or as your friend or as your go-to buddy is that it's instant. And my generation's taught you that, right? So we're all about, fast food and I don't like the television, so let's change it, right? So
Cause and effect. Yeah.
the concern about that is still we as human beings are hardwired, as Brene Brown teaches us, to
Yep.
need connection, to need relationship, right? So as much as your AI might give you an instant thing to try, okay, great, but you are missing 98% of what comes through communication, and that's nonverbal. And so I read a lot of headlines talking about what is it the dead stare of the current young people. And I was like, well, why do you have to have facial expressions if you're getting all of your information from technology? There's no need for that, right?
It's a
I'm
very
not saying
safe place to go, right?
it is in a way, but then now we've cut out a whole section of communication and connectivity. And I'm even talking about just general, hello, how are you? Right.
Yeah.
You look nice today type conversations. And so I think that we are doing a disservice to ourselves and especially to our children when we are not m- modeling for them how to have even little micro connections throughout the day. That if they're quiet and on their phone, then I'm raising them right, or they're obviously okay. And I think we are I'm concerned
You're
about,
missing the mark.
yeah, I'm concerned about that
I
for
said in
sure.
another podcasting related here, I think, and I'd love to know your thoughts on it, um, that I have found in different circles and in my job environment, it seems like an overall inability to let children be uncomfortable.
Oh, for sure.
Let them be on board.
1000%.
Yes. Let them be bored. That's
Yes.
where creativity comes. Let them be angry.
Yep.
Accept that anger and allow it as long as the behavior is appropriate. And if it's not, guide it back. Let them have the feelings, let them problem solve. And it's easy from the side of it for me to say these things, but it is so incredibly frustrating for me.
Yeah,
And I need to look at my
I would
own stuff around that, but
100%. And I would agree with that. And I'm talking about, again, having worked with kids for now 25 years.
yeah,
But if we're going to be honest, and let's be real, who teaches them that? If only there were someone to guide children, right? We are friends.
yeah.
We're the parents, we're the aunties, we're the teachers, we're the therapists, we're the neighborhood uh watch, right? We have, if we can't even do it, if I can't even sit in my own uncomfortableness, if I can't even bear to sit with something and work and wait until the feelings subside and get to the other side, if I cannot do that, how do I teach that to someone else?
They're
Right. So
watching.
it's easy for us to lament and blame this and blame that. And I think, um, which brings me back to one of the things I said earlier. I need you to tell me why I'm right as my friend and why
Why you're right.
my problems are all someone else's fault. Like that's because I kind of feel like that. I mean, I say that jokingly, but I think that's kind of our default. But as a friend, that's kind of what we do. Yeah, screw him or screw her or your boss sucks. Like we do that. But as
We
far
need that
as
outlet.
we
But at the
do.
end of the day, Sherry, you never let anything sit in somebody else's lap. I've never seen you do that except for on high.
I love
The
how you
powers
said
that
that.
be, and there's truth in that, right? But you always take your own responsibility. But to be able to sit with a friend, throw it against the wall and see if it sticks, there's value in that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And I'm sad for us
Hmm.
that that's kind of where we've gone as a society. And I'm be honest with you, I am not the most let's go out and make friends. Let me go ask this woman out on a date. Like it scares the crap out of me, right? So I'm right here with everybody. I hope that I can say that's not the case with friendships, but even friendships start off
Right.
at zero. Like how do we make friends? And here I read this line the other day and it was brilliant. It said, with all of the apps that we have, it promises friendships in a variety of locations,
Yes.
meetups and dating apps and going in and making comments about people's life. You've never met them. Like look at, I've made a connection or someone liked my post.
Dinner with strangers.
And
That's the
that's
best
okay.
concept, by the way. I love that concept.
Then why are we so lonely?
Because we're not connecting. We can sit
Yes,
in front of
exactly.
somebody forever, but
It
where's
is
the
a way
connection?
to connect, but we're talking about the main ingredients of building relationships and connectivity require uncomfortableness, vulnerability, as Brene Brown would say.
Because I'm good at getting to know other people. Where I struggle is
For
letting
sure.
them get to know me.
Yeah. Yeah. But
That is,
I think that's my favorite part of my job and always has been, which is why I love to do interviewing. And maybe one day I'll have my podcast like you when I grow up,
not maybe.
um, is the idea of learning their story. And we have talked about this ad nauseum, like it's called different things, but um, to different people. But when I sit down in front of someone, um, and I'm doing questions that I have to ask based on what my job requirement is, or just in general, it's tell me more. And as they're weaving their story, I find a hook and I'm like, I can understand that. I can empathize with that. Or that's funny, that happened to me too. Or let me tell you a funny story about me. So to find the way to have the pieces fit comes from the ability to sit with someone long enough and have the interest long enough and have the ability to separate long enough to say, this is what we have in common. I understand that, or I don't understand that. Tell me more about it. Have interest.
That's
Um,
really risky to say, I don't understand, because just being in the US now, or in Texas specifically, to say, I don't understand, I feel the need to make sure they know that it doesn't mean I disagree. I just want to understand. But the assumption, and for good reason, right? The assumption is if I don't understand, that means I disagree. That means it's going to get tense, and so I better walk off now.
oh yeah, I would agree. That's definitely for people like me who don't like confrontation. I would go on to say that it has created a sense of mistrust and chaos, and the instead of assuming the best, instead of even, I'll even go a step further, instead of assuming that we all have right motivations to be an American patriot, if it looks different, if I don't understand it, if it loves different, if it difference equals danger. Whereas before we could come from the position of, oh, different's different. No, you're different, therefore you're wrong. I should be afraid of it.
You're the
And it goes
broken one.
and it goes from there. So what's so interesting, going back to what I said earlier about having Texas raised female influences in my life, is that they, in order to survive, they had to not do what they were told, right? They had to walk the line of, okay, I need to survive. But I also have to carve my own way. Out of all my family, I think I had maternal, no, my paternal grandparents stayed married, but no examples in my family tree are there women who stayed married to the same man their entire life, except for one.
Why do you
And
think that
so,
is?
in order to do that in the 60s, 50s, 40s, back, you
That's huge.
had to have some type of connection to a man. Historically, around the world, that's true. And this isn't about beating up men. This is about the evolution of where I'm at today. I can
Hmm.
have my own financial freedoms. I can have my own education. Um, I can say with certainty and confidence that I have the same rights as anyone else.
Was it 86 or 87 was the first time a woman could have a checking account on her own, a bank account on her own?
It was in the 80s. I do know that, I think it was 87 that she could
Get a loan.
get a loan. Yeah. Have her own house. So, like, for example, so my mother's mother, who, she was a very hard woman to love, but she was a hard woman in general, but she had to be,
Had to
because
be.
in order to raise children without being in an abusive relationship, she had to go around that, and saying that she, was a divorced woman, not once but twice,
Hmm.
and also was going to work more than one job, and was going to keep an immaculate house and her kids fed and all that stuff.
They'd always have food for sure.
Had to do it
Mhm.
differently, because if she, right, so part of the growth that I did in the 30s and 40s, my 30s and 40s, was understanding that I don't have to live under the constructs of what is supposed to be, that I can define what my own reality is and what my own rules are. And that's not to say I'm an anarchist, although sometimes I feel that
No,
way.
I think there are
It is
parts of you that are this, yeah.
in that, the don't tell me what to do. In the, no, I don't agree with that. I can say, of course we all change, but there is a constant thread going back as far back as I can remember of, yeah, I don't agree with that. Now, at 5 years old, it might have come out differently or behavior wise, but like I could think about something about, I don't know that I don't agree with that. And sometimes it's a little bit more forceful. But again, that I think that genetic memory is what that's about. I can't survive under these circumstances. I'm going to make my own way. And
Well, we're created from very strong lineage, and my understanding is that marriage back in the day was a marriage of agreement and convenience. It wasn't arranged, but it was kind of the same energy and effort. You were together to make a living, to create, not the idea we have today.
right,
And certainly, we definitely have some other trends that are happening where women are choosing to have more of an independent life, to, the solo travelers alone, yourself included.
yeah,
Uh, That was never the case. Think about it. Only 40 years ago, we could not get a loan or a bank
yep,
account with your name
yep,
on it. How
yep,
different our lives are today.
yep.
I'm in
Yep.
debt for the rest of my life because of
Yeah,
that.
for sure. I mean, and it's interesting. So I like to watch historical fiction shows.
Oh yeah.
Um, Most recently have been watching like The Gilded Age, and it's, the Real Housewives of the Gilded Age, right? But having said all that, the context of it was, even with all of the money, even with all of the pomp, even with all of the finery and the wealth that they had, even then, women had to marry in order to survive.
Yes.
Poor women
Necessity, right?
had to marry to survive.
Mhm.
There had to be some type of so different religions. You have to be connected to a brother or a husband or a father or an uncle in order to have certain movability in your community, right? It is a rare thread of history where women could live on their own in their own terms without having to have some type of connection financially or physically to a man, because it was considered, and I know this is going to be hard for a lot of young women to understand, it was considered that women were less intelligent, that we were less knowledgeable. In fact, in some countries women are not allowed to read, much less learn, much less go to school, because their job is to just be the wife, and that may entail
Mhm.
being poor and being uneducated and um, just popping out children. Like, that's their worth and their value. And I'm not here to denigrate anyone's culture. I'm here to say, throughout time, we have had to measure ourselves and our maneuverability and our ascension and progress based on who we were married to. And it didn't even matter how much money you had. And
Well,
I,
I remember
go ahead.
my mother, it took her into her 30s or so to get her driver's license.
Hmm.
Now, I'm unclear whether that was because that was my father's preference or that she truly couldn't. And I suspect it was a little bit of both. But if we think of all these combinations, no bank account, cannot get a loan, cannot, no bank account is no checks. And back then there were no debit cards and credit cards. And you
Right.
couldn't get one if there were. And then if driver's license, think about it. Yes, even in the 70s, you needed to have a male presence to assist you.
Yeah.
So that is, I mean, I can't even wrap my brain around that. We're not talking
And
1800s.
yeah, and I mean, maybe this is a little bit too redacted to say, but pull way, way back and say, power structures like to keep their power. So whether it's religion saying you don't need to learn how to read because only priests can tell you what the Bible says, and only we can be the authorities on who God is and what that means. You are too ignorant, and so therefore you don't need to read, and you will get punished and thrown in jail if you learn to read. Right. So it's not limited to a patriarchal foundation. It's just, if those
Good
in
point.
power don't like to give it up and it is a threat to
It's
them. But you
addictive.
know what? Oh, let me tell you something. Sidebar. I didn't have to, but I chose to do a CEU called White Supremacy and White Victimization or something. What it was, something to that effect. And I don't mean to be disrespectful to the woman who did the training. I apologize. I don't know the
That's
exact
a
title,
tough topic to teach.
especially now, right?
Yep.
So but what I learned from that is that she was talking about the white supremacist construct impacts and injures everyone, everyone, including white people. And I was like,
The
how
social
so?
structure.
This is what she said, because there is a construct of what white supremacy looks like, what religion they have, what power structure they have, and if you do not meet that standard, regardless whether you're white, black, Hispanic, rich, poor, then they have permission to abuse you. So I was like, blew my mind, because now we're thinking about, put that in what I already knew, like if there's societal expectations about what a woman does or what a person of color can accomplish or what they're allowed to accomplish. And I was like, I
Affects us
never
all.
thought of it that way. But think about so for me, I grew up very religious, and it wasn't all terrible and bad, but so I had this belief structure of what was supposed to be right and wrong. And when that banged against my sexuality, that created a conflict for me because I wanted to. I did. There was not a force. I wanted to live according to these rules, but the rule said XYZ. And when I was able to bridge those two, that was one of the times where I had a huge growth moment. And it was like, why am I following rules that other people wrote for me? And that those who are interpreting it for me don't have my best interest at heart, but theirs. And I was like, oh no, we're gonna have to rethink all this. So it is not limited to just women. It is a limited, it really comes down to a power structure that is very powerful in protecting its own power. And that's a lot of the use of the word, but you get
Do
what I
you
mean.
remember when you first, not to put you on the spot, I don't know that I would remember, but do you remember when you first became aware that it wasn't about you at all? That it was about them holding on to power, whoever them is?
Um, so yes. Um, so when I look back on the different like mile markers of my life, I'm looking at it now as a middle-aged lady who can articulate and formulate things. But when you're 5 years old, when you're 7 years old, you are understanding the world from 7 years of life or 5 years of life, right? So I've got memory and I've got the words that I can put to it now. So um I remember, okay, so just for an example, becoming a teenager, and no, even before then. So when I was a young child, this is funny. This is the don't tell me what to do thing. When I was about 5 years old, that's okay. So at 5 years old, that's when your personality is beginning to form, your identification of who you are, your what you like, what you enjoy. It's now formulating itself. And it was at that time that I was like, I'm not wearing a dress ever again. Five, I'm wearing a dress. I hate them. I want to play in the dirt. I want to ride dirt bikes. I want to play with cars. Don't give me a doll because I will
No
take it right
frou-frous
off
and
and
bows
burn
and
it.
dolls. No, thank you.
No, not doing it. I don't like pink. I want to play sports. And so and that was just my natural desire of what I wanted to do. I didn't, there was nobody telling me right or wrong. This is just what I want to do. So here's where the rules part, to go back to your question. No other, not many girls were doing that, right? And
No.
it was so asserting who I wanted, what my preferences were by observation told me I'm doing it wrong, or this isn't what you're supposed to be doing. But that was the genuine part of what I enjoyed. So continuing into elementary school years, playing sports, um, wearing boy clothes, like we would go shopping for schools and I would head to the boys section. And there was always excuses made. Well, you know, Cheri, she's just going through a phase. Or my grandmothers or aunts that didn't know me would buy stuff for me that was girly, and that shit never saw the light of day. Like it wasn't going to happen. So here I am now. When you're in early childhood or late middle childhood, now you are able to have more abstract thinking. And it's, oh, you don't like to play in the dirt and ride bikes? Oh, I should play with dolls. Adolescence kicks in. I'm like, I need to do better at fitting in. So I let my
Which
hair
is
grow long.
adolescence, right? As
Right.
you
I let
said.
my hair grow longer, and everyone has a boyfriend. I don't have a boyfriend. I need to work real hard on having a boyfriend. And so it
Trying to
wasn't like
fit
my
in.
story, if I can say thankfully, wasn't about a physical abuse or emotional abuse. It was the societal constructs that were telling me. Now,
Yeah.
in that, we grew up very well for a period of time. We were very religious, and that's an important detail because prior to that, my family was very tumultuous. We moved around a lot. My parents were not happily married. I was a honeymoon baby and with a dad that didn't want to be married in the first place. And then here comes his first child 9 months later. He was resentful parent. And so it was very, very tumultuous. And then
Good
something
word.
happened in our family, and my parents were invited to go to a church that they really connected with. There's that word again, and they sunk into it. So as young parents, I was probably 7, so they were probably 27. They found a place to call home, and we were at church 3 days a week. And being taught valuable lessons, being taught, who I wanted to emulate, what I wanted to emulate. And that time frame, my parents, in my opinion, had a healthy time together during that time. So it was a good memory. So for me,
Yeah.
that time frame of being in a church environment for me was safe, right? Now
Yeah.
at the time though,
Predictable.
I've got this internal development. I've got this stages of change, and I'm going into adolescence, and unprovoked start having attractions and feelings for women and having dreams about them. Like you can't control your dreams. Like I wanted to kiss girls and I wanted to date them, and so I would wake up faced with reality, be like, that doesn't fit
Yeah.
what I told I'm supposed to be doing. And so when you talk about the question of when did you know that you were like the rules were being placed on you or whatever, I forget how you phrased it. It's been over the course of time through certain events.
When
My
did you
story,
know that it wasn't about you, it was about them?
yeah, yeah. So here's the struggle. It wasn't a moment. It has been several moments over the course of time, right?
Conglomerate, yeah.
And so because my Christian upbringing, and to this day, I will say, and I've told you this, it is integral part of who I am as an
It
individual.
really is.
Not because I think it's right, the only way, not because I think everyone else is wrong. I'm telling you, it is the language and the writing and the teachings by which it has taught me to communicate with a higher power, with myself and with others,
It's
my
had its
way
place.
of how I understand it, right? And there's a difference. It's not me saying you must think as I do. This is the only way. It is integral to me and how I understand the world and conceptualize it. A starting point, I guess you could say.
It's part of the pieces of you. You're one of
Foundational.
the backboards that you threw the ball against. I mean,
Correct. Correct.
and some of it you kept, and some of it you gave back. I
That's
think
it. Because so if you're being told you must follow A, B, and C, and that if you are doing X, well, then A, B, and C is thrown out the window and you're horrible, going to hell straight away. Don't pass go straight into it. And I remember, so I guess now, fast forward, I struggled with trying to marry those two very, very important things, like who I am as a person, what I believe as an individual, and also what I understand the world to be from a family perspective and a religious perspective. And they clashed and they clashed. And I was like, how can this be wrong? How can who I love be wrong when it feels so natural? And then came the, well, sin feels good, right? Sin feels good. Otherwise, we wouldn't do it. And I was like, this is different though. This is not,
it's
mm,
different. The
this is different. It's
it's a
not why,
settling. It's a comfortability.
right. How do I, if I deny this part of me, then the religious part of me, the core values part of me is miserable. And if I accept all parts of myself, then I'm forcing myself to be miserable. Like, right? And so this is a profound core memory. So I'm in graduate school and I was dating a woman and I was struggling with, how do I be a Christian, right? That was the ultimate goal, just be the Christian. How do I be a Christian and also have attraction to women and continue to do this and it also feel right? Because both of these things feel correct. I don't, and
Well,
they,
and it
so,
wasn't just you were in, I don't remember if you just said this or not, but to be clear, you were in a Christian college, a Christian school.
oh yeah, I
So it was
was.
everywhere.
And again, my choice. This wasn't forced on me. It was,
Absolutely.
it was, it was, when I was growing up, the young people I looked up to, who I wanted to be like because they were cool, they went to the school. And
Yeah,
so I was like, well, that's where I'm going. There was no other option. I applied nowhere else. I'm going to go there because I want to be like them. I like them. I have these belief structures. And I went voluntarily, signed
sure.
up for it. And
Yeah,
my freshman year of college, I got kicked out because that's when I discovered and acted upon um, my attraction to women. And
sure.
but
So I
because
wanted
that's
to
all.
paint the picture to the audience. It wasn't just that you were in college and here you are seeing a woman. It's a whole different level. This was a major shift in you embracing,
I didn't embrace it, not
not
yet.
yet. You were
So
acting the
again, this is one
part.
of those mile markers where it was definitely a transformative time. Um, and so the struggle continued. So I went back to college and I graduated and I was serving Jesus and I, prayed every day for forgiveness and that I would find a husband and I would gross and I would be the person God had called me to be, never imagining that who I could be and who I wanted to be was exactly who God wanted me to be. They didn't have to conflict. That came later. So I was in graduate school and now I'm dating a woman. And I'm interestingly enough, I've said this probably to you. There have been a couple of times when I know I have walked with the divine. I know it. I know it in my heart of hearts, and this is one of them. So I am standing in a bathroom at my job. I'd gone in there and I'm just sobbing because I was struggling again. This so now we're talking about 10, 15 years of struggle with this. And I'm just like, I don't know how to make this work. And I'm failing. I'm not living up to, the expectations of who I'm supposed to be because I want to be a good godly woman but at the same time I'm not attracted to men like I am women and so I asked you earlier how long you've been a therapist. So let me pause here. When did you know that you wanted to be a counselor? Do you remember?
Yes. Um, Similar upbringing as you. And when I got married, I had no idea what I was getting into. It's a lot when you never trusted anybody. And that's after 5 years of dating.
Mm,
Got into counseling, and for 5 years of hardcore work on myself, I wanted to do for others. So I was probably 24, 25 when I go, you
okay.
know what? I can do this because I didn't feel like I was worthy to be a therapist
Oh
until
wow.
I had that
Okay.
experience. So, yeah.
So for me, I knew I wanted to be a counselor when I was in junior high. I knew
Okay.
it. In the core of my being, I knew it. And then when I was in high school, I knew I wanted to work with kids. Now, there's not many people that know what they want to do when they're in junior high, and many less
Oh,
that
gosh,
go on to
definitely
do what they know
not.
they're. But I did. I knew that that's what I wanted to do. So my entire educational career and goal path was to do that. So as I'm learning who I am and what I want to do and who I am as a person, as a human
Right.
being, I also was like, this is what I want to do as a profession. So I knew this long time ago. So now go back to the moment where I'm in the bathroom. So I'm sobbing and I'm like, I'm so sorry, God. I'm failing you. I'm failing. I'm failing at being a person. I'm failing at being a woman. I'm failing at being what I'm supposed to do. And as I promise you, as clear as I'm talking to you, this was the conversation. Cheri, when you become a therapist and a 5-year-old comes to your office and says to you, I think I'm attracted to girls and I'm a girl, would you say to that 5-year-old, oh, well, you're going to hell? You are failing. It is your fault. You are not doing life right. You failed your parents, you failed God, you are going to hell. And when the question came to me, I was just flabbergasted. I was like, absolutely not. I would never, ever tell a 5-year-old that they were going to hell. That is the most abusive thing that you can tell a child is like, you are a failure. You're not supposed to be here. You're not doing like that is abuse. I would never tell a 5-year-old that. And the response that came back was, then why would I ever think that about my own child? And that was it. That was that. I was like, I don't have okay. And I promise you, I walked out of there and that was the day. That was one of the days when I was like, this is made up. This these rules, these constructs were made up. And I don't have to. And they just kind of like the matrix melted away. And I
So that voice from beyond, I believe, and you believe, allowed you to have a sense, develop your own sense of more of a sense of peace.
Yeah, and of identity, right? So, because remember, these two things
Yeah.
were grinding against each other like tectonic plates.
Yes.
Boom, boom, boom.
Writing's a good word.
And then there was this, an existential moment where I was like, oh, I don't have to be told what to do, and I don't have to do this. And when it was okay here, when the tectonic plates landed, when it was okay here, the okay reverberated out. And then I was a better student, a better friend, a better kid, a better sister, all the things, because I was settled in here.
In
And
here. You weren't
I
looking to anything or anybody else to decide that for you.
it was settled. And but let me say this. So remember, I told you that my particular Christian faith was how I understood this. It was important to me, and I believed it was giving me foundational, important lessons in life.
Hmm.
So for me, my healing journey included what I believe to be a communication with a higher power.
Yes,
Some
ma'am.
people may have one of those healing moments where they sit down across from a therapist or from their AA sponsor or from sitting at the ocean doing some meditation, and that stuff might snap together. But for me, my understanding came from how I was trained and how I was raised, right? And so that integral part of who I was and who I understood myself to be in one context was absorbed into the other. It wasn't above, or it was literally woven together in that moment after years of ignoring it, praying it away. I can't tell you how many, and I'm starting at the age of 5, waking up every day praying, God, just make me into a boy. Just make me into a boy. When I played uh, with my friends, I was the dad, or I was the boyfriend, or I was, the athlete. It wasn't because I wanted to date them. It was because I wanted to be them. I wanted
You're
the
the
girl,
Ken with the
not the
Barbie.
boy. So again, so we're talking about even in my play, it was evident that I was an outsider. But interesting enough, when I came to the point of peace in my heart, where I'm not an outsider, I'm living inside my own rules, and my what I make okay is okay, right? And so and I had to make peace with that because I was told that those two things could not live in harmony. And
I think
so
I
that also
told
goes back to
you,
don't tell me what to do. That goes back to the grandmother said, like, I'm gonna have to figure out how to live my life in this world that tells me I'm doing it wrong. Um, and I think in a way we all do. And so the way I come to peace with some of those things are not going to look the same as they do for everyone else.
I think I had told you, speaking of looking the same and not, about my good friend James Sewell. He did a podcast with me. I think sent that video or told you about it. And his coming out process, very, very similar. And the real release for him, and I'm not sharing anything because he said it on the podcast. Um, the millisecond that he came to peace with, I can love Jesus and love boys, and the love is very different, but it resides both in me. That's when he really was uplifted and truly today. And he had to um, disrupt the current life he had. Um, and the person he was with and their denial process. It's communication that had been had before, but it wasn't, I mean, we're going to pray this out of you type of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
He's truly happier today than I've ever seen him. And I've known him since my first trip to Okinawa working. Gosh, I don't even know. I think it was 2015. Um, and your story is very similar. And I love the telling of it because there's so many out there, hopefully, who will find this and his podcast who can relate to this, but they don't have the words for it the way you do. They haven't been
yeah,
through the process yet like you have. And you're in a this is what it is, and I will no longer apologize or pray it away or attempt to.
yeah. I think, the follow-up question is, well, do you still go to church? And the answer is emphatically no.
Hmm.
I don't want anything to do with the politicized,
Organized and all that.
um, abusive religion that is going on. in the United States, at least that's propagandized. Now, I'm fully aware that there are those who have a good relationship with their church, with their community and God, and who don't espouse the same abuses and excuses to be a bigot or to be racist or to be abusive. I think when we, this touches on what I said earlier, when I feel like things are not fair and when people who can't stick up for themselves are being abused, they get very angry. I feel like that today's politicization of Christianity, they wrap themselves in raiments of self-righteousness
Some
to
definitely
then
do.
use the iconology, to use the symbolism, to use the words, to beat down others so that they can elevate themselves. And if that is not the number one example of New Testament religion that killed our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and I'm saying this to a community that's religious. This is not going to be applicable to everyone else, but having grown up in church and gone to Bible college, I can use their words and their iconology back at them. But the idea in any culture,
Any culture.
whatever you
And
can
we've lived in a
use
lot
to
of them.
bludgeon people and to disempower them, oftentimes is religion. And that is exactly what is happening in the United States when religion and politics have become the same thing.
Not
Uh,
separated, exactly.
that is a dangerous place to be because it's not about promoting the goodness and well-being of all. It's we're going to step on your neck, and we're going to have some Christian symbols on our body while we do it, and that it's abhorrent to me. I cannot. So no, I don't go to church. Um, but I hold to the ideals of what I know the best faith tenets are, which is to care for others and to help others and to a starting with me. I said this to you earlier. Like I knew I wanted to be a helper and I knew I wanted to be a counselor, but the lesson about, oh, that's not infinite. You can't give and do infinitely without repercussions. That story came much later. But and so in addition to caring for others, I'm equally caring for myself. Um, and that's hard to do.
Absolutely.
It's hard to do and admit that it's a necessity, especially for women in Western culture, for sure.
And I think that is a God connection as well.
Mhm.
I once had a pastor who said, I can pray for you all day, but if you're hungry, I need to give you a sandwich. We give the sandwiches.
Yep.
And so I'm wondering, again, not to put you on the spot, if you'd be willing to maybe consider doing a second show where we can talk a little more about the different cultures and, anything else that might come up.
Sure.
Because this has been wonderful and refreshing. I've missed our conversations, and I love the power of Zoom that can connect us from across the world, literally. Um, Tsunamis and everything else, be damned.
Oh my God. Yesterday on my phone, there was getting blasts for tsunami alerts. Then we have two
Hmm.
tropical storms that are just pounding Okinawa. And I was like, all right, I guess I'm just waiting for the grasshoppers and the frogs to fall from the sky. Which begs the question, when the apocalypse comes, I don't want to live in Gilead. I don't want to
Not,
wear a white
no.
dress. I lack more color than that, and I'm too old to wear the red dress. So I just need to be taken out quick.
I still picture you in a red hat and purple sash.
Oh, yeah, that's different though. But to live in Gilead, you're either given babies or taking care of the men who want the baby.
I'm
Anyways,
gonna have to go look that up.
did you not watch Handmaid's Tale?
Oh, I have not.
Yeah, that's why. It's a
I
reference.
have too. It is Gilead.
Mhm.
It's been a few years. I think I need to break that out again because I am definitely, I've
I had a
heard
friend
that
that I
name
was
a
like,
few
I,
times
I
these
said to
days.
my friend Rhonda, I said, Rhonda, any moment we're going to turn into the Republic of Gilead. And I said, I don't want to wear the gray dress. And she says, Cheri, we're not going to make it because we're too mouthy and too educated and they don't like those. So we'll
We
be
burned
taken
at the
out quick. And I was
stake,
like,
my
good,
friend.
because I
Can't. Just
can't
keep
do it.
saying you're not the boss of me. Go tell. I don't care.
Exactly. Who are we going to tell? No thanks.
Cheri, I have not laughed this hard in a long time. With you, not at you. And please
Both a little
consider
coffee.
doing another show because I think you're quite the natural here. You're quite the orator here. Um,
Sure.
I would love to have you back again. So,
Also, most importantly, let's talk about how much you charge to do start readings because I need to know why I'm single. It is a universal mystery I have yet to understand. So, your talents, I need to pay for
anybody
your
want
talents.
to chime in, send the messages, but my guess is, and yes, I would love to do a reading with you. It'd be good practice for me.
Yes,
I think that much like myself, but in a different way, you are a big old cup of Java, and many could not hold the cream for your Java. And I
it
mean
would
that
take.
in the best way. I mean, like the best way. Like
It's a big coffee cup. You're right.
I think if somebody came along, it would slow your roll. And so get busy on that book.
Oh yeah, I need to write a
Did
book.
I say that? I appreciate you, Sherry, and you guys. Shoot me a message, Texas Desert Rose, Facebook page, YouTube, and Texas Desert Rose 1111 at gmail.com. If you would like to connect to Sherry in some way, I'll get her the message. And thank you so much for joining. Bless.